Hi everyone, I'm going to give you a tutorial on how to complete assignment 1 where we will learn how to do pivot tables. The first question would be really, what is a pivot table? Well, pivot table, as you can see here, the definition I've given you, basically it's a program within Excel that allows you to reorganize the data into columns and rows on a spreadsheet so that you can prepare reports that are much easier to understand. It's a very powerful tool. The best comparison I can give you is, let's suppose you love action movies and you watch an action movie on a DVD and it's great. It's a nice view, you know, that's like what a spreadsheet is. It's fine. But if you watch the bonus features on the DV at the end, you see the explosions and car crashes and a whole new vantage point. You get to see exactly how it's done and what's really going on in the movie. Now that's what a pivot table view is like. So let's take a look now. And let's look at a standard spreadsheet here on the left. The spreadsheet has rows and columns, and the rows give the names of the companies that we get our goods from, and the month of sale is the month we sold the merchandise, and then the column C is the customers, their names, and then the item numbers, and then the last column is the number sold. Now, the sample that I'm giving you here is just a silly one. They use you know, old movie stars for the customers, but you know, that aside, what it is, we look at this spreadsheet, we can't really see, we can see what was sold, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. For example, you know, how many items did we sell to Fred Astaire in the month of January? You can't tell me that. Or you know, what month was the most busiest month for sales for Lauren Bacall? You know, we don't know the answers to those questions by looking at the spreadsheet. So that's like watching a movie on a DVD. It's good. You can see it. Yeah, the information's there. But let's look at the bonus features. Let's go over to this example on the right-hand side where it says like the bonus features on a DVD. You can create little mini spreadsheets within the spreadsheet that pulls out just the chunks of data you're looking for. It's a very powerful tool. So let's go on now. I'm going to show you how easy this it is to create a pivot table. Then I'll go on and show you exactly how to do it from the real beginning. Okay, so let's go over to a spreadsheet. This is the same spreadsheet we just looked at a minute ago. But again, if you look at the data that's on here, it's just sales information. It's just data. It's nothing you can really get to your handle on. But I'm going to show you how easy it is to create a simple spreadsheet on it, a simple pivot table. Okay, let's click on, you have to click on cell A1 in order to select it as a spreadsheet that you're working on. Once you've clicked on cell A1, walk the insert button, come over to where it says upper left hand corner pivot table, and now you have to tell it the range of the data that you want to put in the table. Now it generally selects it automatically for you. See the dotted lines going around the edge, but if it doesn't do that, just click on A1 and drag it down and across, and then I'm highlighting the data that I want to make a pivot table out of. Now make sure you click on the button that says new worksheet and click OK. Now immediately go to the sheet tab at the bottom. Below it says sheet 1. Double click on it so you don't forget. Double click, and this is going to be, I'm going to call it my monthly sales report. So make sure you label it. Okay, now it's very simple from here. Here's what I want in my report. On the upper right hand corner it says pivot table fields, and you get to choose from the fields that you want in your report. Now I'm going to tell you in advance what fields I want in the report, and whether it's a textbook or in real life, if your supervisor gives you a spreadsheet and says, hey, I want a pivot table, they have to tell you what they want in it. And so I'm going to tell you that. I want in it, I want the customer names. I'm going to click on it and drag it down into the rows column. I want the customer's names in the row, and you see immediately it populates the data. There's the rows going across with the customer's names. Now I also want to know the month of the sales. So I'm going to click on month of sales and drag it down into columns. And when I let go, notice it populated in the months of the sales for this report. The next thing I want to know is I want to know the number of items sold. So I click on number of items sold and drag it down into the values column. Now see that it says sum of values. That sum of means it's going to add. It's going to add the number sold. Now watch. There we go. Now I have a report that really makes sense. I'm going to make it a little bit easier to read though. I'm going to click in cell A5 and come all the way down and across. Actually, I want to click on A4. Oops, wait a minute. Let's see. Start with A4 and go all the way across. And I'm going to go to the Home tab here, and I'm going to put on the All Borders button. I did that by going to the Home tab, then clicking on All Borders. Now you can see it's a lot easier to read. Now let's make it even a little bit easier to read. I'm going to drag and make the month columns wider because some of them are wider than others, and they're just kind of cramped up there. And I'll just move these across. And I want you to do this on your problem too. Make it nice and easy to read. You know, not many people are very skilled in making pivot tables, and show your supervisor or whoever you're working for how good you are. Not only can you do a pivot table, but you can make it look good. Okay, there we are. Now I'm just going to go across and click on the names of the months, and I'm going to go up here, and I can even make it a little bit bigger. 14, something like that. Okay, so now there it is. There's a pivot table. It's just that easy. Okay, so now I'm going to close out of this one, and I'm now going to do problem assignment number 1, just like you were asked to do in the textbook, exactly like that. So let's start off fresh. For assignment 1, you read your assignment list, and you come to assignment 1, pivot table for Hollywood. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to Canvas, and you're going to go to assignments, and you're going to go to Excel unit. Now in the assignments for pivot tables, you have to scroll down until you find, see it says files needed for pivot tables in assignment 10. And here's the first one I'm going to show you. Pivot table for assignment 1 Hollywood. This is how you'll do it when you start it yourself. Okay, I'm going to double click and open that up. Okay. There we go. Now you might have to click the enable editing at the top where I am here. Enable editing. Okay, there we go. Now this is the same one I just did a minute ago with you, but in this case I'm giving you the directions more specifically, so when you do it yourself you'll know what you're doing. Okay, and again on the left hand side is all the generalized data, but the sample I show you on the right shows you what it will look like if you do it properly to give the individual monthly sales reports by customers. And again, to show you how easy it is to do, I'm just doing this again. Now, the instructions tell you to create the pivot table that looks like the one below, and that's it right here, where I'm moving my mouse around. Okay, and it tells you to make sure you label your sheet sales by month. Okay, and I tell you what to do. First thing to do, it says click on cell A1 to activate the spreadsheet. Then it says click on the Insert tab and click on Pivot Table, and then highlight cells A1 through A29. So I'm going to do that now. So I'm going to first of all click on cell A1 on the left. That's where I am, cell A1. I clicked on it to highlight it, make it active. Now I'm going to go up to Insert, come over to Pivot Table. And now I have to highlight what information is going to go in my pivot table. So I click on A1, highlight down and across to E29, and that's all the information in the pivot table I need. And make sure you click on New Worksheet. So I'm going to click OK. Now, what it has done is over in the right-hand column where it says Pivot Table Fields, these are the fields that are in the pivot table. Now, once again, if somebody asks you to gives you a spreadsheet and says, create a pivot table out of this, they have to tell you what they want in the pivot table. So I will always tell you what I want in it. Now, I tell you that I want the the customer name in the row field. So click on customer, drag it down to rows. And notice it populated in the rows with the customer's names. Next thing I'm looking for is I want the monthly sales to be in columns. So I click on the month of the sale and I drag it down to columns. And notice it populated in the months across the top. The next thing I want to do is I want the number sold to be totaled up. And the number sold is in fact a number, so I drag it down to where it says values. And notice it has a little symbol there, the sum of symbol, and then it says values. Okay, so whatever is in this field is going to add it up. So now you can see here's a spreadsheet all done. Now I'm going to make it easier to read, and you must do this yourself. You must make it easier to read. Click on A4 and go all the way across, and then come up to your Home tab and go to the Borders button and come down and click on All Borders. There. Now it's nice and easy to read. But again, as I said in the previous illustration, we're going to widen these things up a bit, make it a little bit easier to read here. It takes a second or two to do this stuff, but it's a difference between an okay job and, hey, somebody who does a really nice job, who knows their stuff. And this is what I'm looking for. I want you to do a good job on this stuff. Only takes a minute to do it. It's just detail work. But, details is what makes one employee shine where others don't. And you want to shine. Okay. And again, I'm just going to go across here for the months and just click on the calculation table here. And just to make it look nice. Okay, so you see, now we have a spreadsheet that makes some sense. We have, whoops, let me move that up here. We have now the sales report. We can immediately see that Betty Davis in A5, she only bought stuff from us in November. But if we get down to Inga Bergman, let's see, I think Inga Bergman, we come over here and we can see she bought stuff in May and June in a total amount of this and so forth. So you see, this information isn't readily available looking at the full-size spreadsheet, but if you make a pivot table, well, now you're making some real power with that spreadsheet. Now, before we close, make absolute certain that you double-click on the sheet name down here, and we're going to call this, I'm going to call it customer report, just so we know what it is. Now, on the spreadsheet, we have two things. One is the sales data itself. This is the spreadsheet itself. In the real world, you wouldn't have my yellow box and my sample here to show you what it looks like. But you will have your sales data on one tab and your report on another. And before I close out, let's suppose I want you to make another report. I'm going to show you how to do that real quick. I'm going to click on Sales Data again. This time, again, click on cell A1, go up to Insert, go to Pivot Table, and highlight what you want. I want A1 through here, and then New Spreadsheet, OK. And this time, I'm going to just show you how to do it. This time, I want the customer name in rows. I want the month, again, in columns. And I want the values, number sold. But I want to break it down further by company. And I'm going to click company, so you can have more than one thing here. I'm going to make company in rows. And there we are. Now see, notice the spreadsheet is now broken up further. We have Betty Davis bought from one company, and you can see what company she brought it from, what month she bought it in, the total sales. Again, this is just another report that you can create. You don't have to do this for assignment number 1, but I'm just showing you because later on you might do more complicated ones. And again, before you close, make sure I'm going to double click, and I'll call this second sample report, just so you can name that. Okay, and that's all there is to creating spreadsheets with pivot tables. Okay, so now your next step will be to go to begin assignment number 2. And by the way, assignment number 2 uses this file here, and assignment number 3 uses the city repair one. So there you go. Good luck, and I hope you have a easy time with this. Okay, thank you. And stop.